So again, my name is Gwen Sorley. I've been using Play Attention with my clients since 1996, so for about 28 years. So hopefully my experience using Play Attention with lots of different individuals from every age, from 5 all the way up through adulthood, will really give you a better understanding of our program, the process, and how we can customize a plan to help you or your child or your clients improve executive function. Now, I know as I look through the list that I see people here who have attended past webinars. And if you have attended some of our past webinars, you know that in those webinars, we touch on a variety of subjects that have to do with executive function. And in all of those webinars, we give you tips and strategies. So we've done past webinars on emotion regulation, organization, time blindness, task completion. We've worked on rejection sensitive dysphoria. So we've talked about those different topics and given you tips and strategies. And those tips and strategies are important. We want you to have those strategies in your toolbox. But at some point, we have to get to the root cause, meaning we have to develop skills so that all of those tips and strategies make sense. To give you an example, I was working with a woman during a consultation not too long ago. And she was really frustrated because she said, everyone keeps looking at me and saying, just write a to do list. And she said, I can write a to do list. That's not the challenge, right? I start every day with a beautiful to do list. The problem is, at the end of the day, I haven't completed anything on the to do list. Are there any of you here that can relate to that? You can use the raise your hand if you see that icon there. Yeah, several of you are saying that you can. Many of you are saying that you can relate to that. And why is that? Right? Well, because if you think about a to do list, and you may not have really thought about all of the skills that are required for a to do list, because other people are saying, just do it, right? But in order for that to do list to be beneficial, specifically to this woman I was talking to, first I had to help her with memory. We have to improve memory so that she remembers she has a to do list. Then we have to work on sustained attention so that when she starts number one, she's able to sustain her attention long enough to complete number one. Then we also have to work on her ability to control her impulsivity. So she's not just starting number one and jumping impulsively down to number three. Does this sound familiar to any of you? We also have to work on filtering distractions so that when she starts that to do list, she's not distracted by the laundry in the corner of the room or something else that takes her attention away. And we also have to work on staying in the present moment, right? So there are so many skills you need in order to tackle that to do list. In order for that to do list to be beneficial and to work for you, we have to improve memory, attention, task completion, impulse control, and filtering distractions. So you may not have thought about it, but that's why sometimes it can be frustrating why the strategies don't work. And you may see this with your child as well. You may have a child who has a 504 plan, and the teachers or administrators put different accommodations in place. Again, I think accommodations are great. I was in another lifetime a classroom teacher as well. And I know the frustration of when we put those accommodations in place and they just don't seem to be enough. Because if you think about it, one of the most common accommodations we make is longer test time. And that is a good thought. However, we have to simultaneously develop skills, right? We have to simultaneously teach your child how to sustain attention, how to control impulsivity so they're not just impulsively, rushing through the test just to get everything done. We have to work on processing speed so that they're able to process the information and get that information down on paper. We have to work on filtering distractions so that they're not constantly distracted during that time. We have to stay in the present moment. So again, in order for longer test time to make sense, we have to get to the root cause and start developing skills so that longer test time is effective and it doesn't end up just being longer time to daydream. So that's what we specialize in. We specialize in one thing. We help you reach your goal by creating customized neurocognitive training plans to develop the foundational skills you need in order to have strong executive function. So, what are your goals? You're all here today because you have a goal in mind, right? So, please go ahead and share your goal with me. Type in the chat box why you're here. Are you here because you're an adult and the promotions at your job seem to be eluding you? You know that you're qualified, but you just can't seem to get that promotion. Are you hoping to be more productive? Do you have a child who is struggling in the classroom, even though she's so intelligent, she just doesn't seem to be able to reach her full potential? Or maybe you're a professional here who works with a variety of individuals who need to improve executive function. What are your goals today? Karsten says, diagnosed this year, and I just want to learn and grow. That's excellent. A Peace Corps volunteer in Mongolia. Wow, excellent. Very nice. Danette says, adult, more productive as an older adult and a professional. Good. Mariana says she's here because her child has ADHD, and the more she learns about it, she thinks she too is ADHD. Nicholas, improve as therapist. Excellent. Bruce says, I'm curious, love to learn new things. Natalie says that she is also a professional, but she has a child with ADHD. She herself is ADHD and also her husband. Okay, excellent. Janetta is here because she has three grandchildren who are struggling in the classroom. Very good. So, a lot of you are here for a variety of different reasons. Maria says, I have been recently diagnosed with ADHD and autism, and I want to learn about them in English. Okay, Maria, thanks for coming. Kate wants to improve her own executive function and also improve my ADHD coaching skills. Excellent. So, you're looking at it personally and professionally. Myron, need to do something different, suffering from ADHD tax. So, a lot of you are here as adults. Some of you are here as professionals. A lot of you here are for combined reasons, right? And many of you, and I want to make certain that we pick up on this. Many of you mentioned that you're here for yourself and your child. So keep in mind that play attention is appropriate for both children and adults. We customize plans for every age from 5 years old all the way up through adulthood. So that is really important to keep in mind. And we've been specializing in these customized neurocognitive training plans for 30 years. Actually, we were the pioneers in this genre. And when our founder and CEO, Peter Freer, was researching different attention training techniques back in the 1980s, because he was working with both children and adults with weak executive function and was becoming frustrated because they were so bright and he wanted to help them more. And so he came across the work that Dr. Pope and Dr. Paulson were doing at NASA. And what he found is that they were integrating feedback technology with their simulator training. That means that they were monitoring the brain states of their pilots and astronauts while they were doing their simulator training. So if they were very attentive, if they were in that peak zone, their controls were automatic. It was very easy for them to do their job. But if they became distracted, if they were stressed, if they were not as attentive, then everything became very sluggish. All the controls were manual. It was harder to do their job. So they were practicing their job, but getting that real-time feedback regarding their attention. The better they were attending, the easier their job. So he thought, that's brilliant. If I can show my clients their brain activity, their attentive state, while working on cognitive skills that we need every day, then I have a comprehensive program. So that is the foundation of play attention. And it's what makes us unique and effective, what we teach and how we teach it. Play Attention is the only program available that integrates feedback-based technology with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping to give you the most comprehensive approach available. So you see my client here on the screen, he has a body wave armband on, and that is this. This is the body wave armband. And on the back of that armband, you'll see there are three sensors. When I slide this armband on my arm, those sensors now monitor my brain activity that tells us how attentive I am. And then that information is given over to the computer where I'm allowed to control all of the cognitive exercises just with my mind, or more specifically, my attention alone. And I receive constant and immediate feedback as to whether or not I truly am focused and paying attention. And that is a really important first step in the learning process. Because if you think about it, when you look at your child or your clients or your students, or maybe even your partner, if they're struggling with attention and you say, I need you to pay attention, what do they typically say back to you? What do you typically hear when you say, I need you to pay attention? What do you typically hear back? I want to see if you're hearing the same thing I was hearing as a classroom teacher. Right. Many of you are saying the same thing I was hearing. So, Maria, Christina, Tara Lee, Jamie, Ian, Lauren, you're all saying, I am, right? I am paying attention. And they really think that they are. But attention's very abstract. So what we're doing is we're making attention concrete and controllable. So now you're going to actually see your attention in real time, feel what you're doing, and you're allowed to practice not only just attention, but you're allowed to practice all of these other cognitive skill exercises that are required for executive function. So when we look at the different cognitive skills we can address within your customized plan, keep in mind that no matter what we're working on, whether we're working on attention stamina or working memory or social skills or task completion, you have to be paying attention. If you're not paying attention, then the activity will stop or the character will go in the wrong direction, and you have to focus back in order to continue. And that is so important for you to keep in mind because you may not have thought about the learning process, right? But how do you learn best? I'm going to launch a poll right now, and you should see it on your screen. How do you or your child or your students learn best? Is it through lecture? Or is it hands-on experiential learning? If you can see the poll, you should be able to just plug in your answer there, or you can type it in the box. How do you or your children or your students learn best? Is it through lecture or hands-on experiential? Okay, I'm going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. Most of you, the majority of you, 94% of you said hands-on, experiential learning. That's how I learn best. That's how my child learns best. And that's true. Many of us learn through experience. But how do we typically teach attention? Well, oftentimes we're limited. So we try to teach it through lecture, right? We say, sit still, eyes on me, pay attention. And we try to tell you what to do. But that's not enough. When we can provide you with an experience, then you can learn. So when you think about developing that ability to pay attention, there are three catalysts required for brain change, right? Because when we talk about sparking brain change, there are certain catalysts that need to be in place. Brain change doesn't just occur. The first is attention, right? I can be a great teacher. You can have a great counselor. But if you're having a hard time paying attention to the individual or the process, it's very hard for you to get maximum benefit. So that's why in our program, no matter what you're working on, you have to be paying attention. You have to be actively engaged, right? Because no matter what you're working on, working memory, short-term memory, task completion, if you're not paying attention, then the activity stops and we wait for you to engage. That way, we make certain that you are going to get maximum benefit. Also, we need challenge because if you come into a learning situation and you are 100% successful, there's no need to change. You're already successful. You've mastered it. So we have to provide some challenge. So the interesting thing about this body wave armband is that there is an auto adjust algorithm. That means when you put that body wave armband on, we're looking at your best ability to pay attention, and the bar is set there. If you're able to reach or exceed that level of attention, then you can activate the exercise. If you're able to maintain it for a given number of seconds, then in the background, we raise the bar just a little bit. Now you have to be that much more attentive in order to be successful. Now, some of you may be thinking, I don't want to be too challenged, or I don't want my child to be too challenged because then it causes frustration, right? And we also know the opposite is true too. We can't allow there to be too much frustration, or learning will not take place. So if you get to a point and you're not able to reach that same level of attention, or you're just getting a little bit mentally fatigued, we bring you back down to your last successful level and gradually build you up from there. Then we also need deliberate practice. That means you're not just going to come into your play attention session and go through the motions, right? Because we have to have goals set for us. So our artificial intelligence, sheer genius, every time you log in for your session is going to look at your data from a previous performance and set a mini goal. So when you log in, sheer genius is going to say, Evelyn, yesterday you completed attention stamina with 70% attention. Today, let's try 72%. And if you do that, you earn a point, and the point goes into your reward system. So Sheer Genius is constantly setting that deliberate practice model for you so that will help you strive for higher levels of achievement. So again, three catalysts required to spark that brain change and create those new neural pathways that are required for executive function: attention, challenge, and deliberate practice. And all of these are incorporated into play attention. Now, as I mentioned, we've been doing this for about 30 years, the integration of feedback technology with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping. But Tufts University School of Medicine wanted to know, is that integration important? Or can we just give you a series of cognitive exercises, or what a lot of you have heard about as brain games or brain training apps? Maybe some of you here have tried those before and get the same results. So they had three different groups of individuals, all identified as ADHD. The first group received play attention, so they had the full integration. The second received just cognitive exercises, so brain games on the computer, no feedback technology, and no behavior shaping, right? No monitoring brain activity indicative of attention, just regular brain training apps. The third was their control, and they received no intervention at all. And at the end of the study, the play attention individuals were the only individuals that showed global improvements. That means transfer and generalization. They didn't just get better at the game, which we find in a lot of brain training apps. They were able to transfer and generalize. So, global improvements in all areas. The play attention group was the only group that showed global improvements in all areas, including academics, social, behavioral, and executive function. They were also the only individuals that if they started the study and they were on medication, because some of them were on, some of them were not. But if they were on medication and in the play attention group, those individuals had an average decrease in their medication, where the other two groups had an average increase. And that goes back to skill building. If we can help you develop the skills, there may be less of a necessity to mask symptoms. So you can use play attention whether you're on medication, not on medication. Medication works for some people by controlling symptoms. The challenge is that medication doesn't teach any skills and doesn't change behaviors. So we don't want to medicate and fail to educate. We want to use that time to help you develop the skills that you lack. And that's what play attention can do. It can teach the skills that medication alone cannot teach. So great studies. If you'd like, I'll follow up in an email and include those Tufts links so you can review those studies as well. Now, I've talked a lot about the feedback technology and that component and how critical that is, how critical it is for you to experience your attention in real time. But let's go ahead and look at it. So I'm going to switch screens, and just know that when I switch my screen sharing and I'm going to go over to play attention, I'm not going to be able to see your comments or your questions. So keep your questions coming as I'm demonstrating, but know that I won't be able to see them and answer them until after the demonstration. But before I show you play attention in action, I have to make certain that we're all on the same page. I have to make certain that everyone's been actively engaged, right? So let me go ahead, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to ask you a question to make certain we all understand. What is this body wave armband monitoring? Before I show you it in action, what is it monitoring? Is it A, eye movement? Is it B, breathing? Is it C, brain activity? Or is it D, FM radio? So you should see that poll on the screen. What is the body wave armband monitoring? Now think about your answer. What are we teaching here? Is it A, eye movement, B, breathing, C, brain activity, or D, FM radio? All right. I'm going to close the poll. Excellent. Okay, so 90% of you answered correctly. So I want to make certain that everyone that may have said something incorrect understands that body wave armband is monitoring my brain activity that tells us how attentive I am, not eye movement, not breathing, because attention originates in the brain, right? Your breathing helps you focus in. Many of you here probably do breathing exercises to refocus yourself. You may keep your eyes on someone while you're chatting with them because you're being visually attentive helps with your focus state. But attention originates in the brain. So we are monitoring brain activity and giving you that feedback in real time. So let's see it in action. Okay, I'm going to share my other screen here, and I'm going to switch over to the Play Attention program. All right, so now you should be able to see Play Attention. And I'm going to share and remember, I cannot see your chat yet until afterwards. So here are all of the cognitive skill areas that we can address within your program. Keep in mind, you will not need all of these. That's where the customization comes in. That's where we pinpoint the underlying skills that are most important for you in developing a executive function. But what is important? All of these exercises are activated with your attentive state. So I'm going to share with you attention stamina. Here we're teaching you how to direct and sustain your attention at will, much like being able to pay attention to the teacher in the classroom or your colleagues in the workplace. Now I'm going to I'm going to select a different character. I'm going to select the diver. And when I click play, the very first thing you're going to see is a transition screen. So in a moment, you're going to see your game is loading, okay? And this is just helping me transition from our conversation into the actual exercise. Once we get past this game is loading screen, then you're going to see my character at the top of the screen and my attention meter is white. And that's because I'm not paying attention. I'm distracted. I'm talking to you. So once I stop talking to you, I'm going to pay attention to my task at hand. Once I'm paying attention, I'm going to be able to swim him all the way down to the bottom of the ocean just with my attentive state. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking, focus in. Now that's as low as he goes. Notice what happens as soon as I distract myself. Immediately he starts to float up. And now I'm alerted. I'm no longer as attentive. That's the experience we were talking about. And distraction can be a variety of things. It could be daydreaming, it could be anxiety, it could be someone walking into the room and I can't filter that noise. Immediately I get that feedback. Now I know I have to control that behavior, control that daydreaming, focus in. Okay. So you see, it's kind of like a piece of exercise equipment for the brain. We're working areas that right now are weak. And by providing you with that constant and immediate feedback, you're then able to develop the self regulation and self monitoring you need in order to recognize when you're paying attention, recognize when you're not paying attention, and more importantly, when you're not, you'll know how to correct it because you've actually had an opportunity to practice it, right? Because we know lecture doesn't work. Sit still, eyes on me, pay attention. That doesn't change anything. How many times a day do you say that? Or how many times a day do you hear it? Or does your child hear it? And it doesn't make a difference. When you provide them with an experience and an opportunity to practice, that's where the development begins. Now, a couple things I want to mention. One is the graphics. That's about as exciting as our graphics get. All of our graphics are very simple. They are very low stimuli. And the reason we do this is because we know what you know. If I give you something high stimuli or high interest, you can hyper focus in those situations where it's hard to draw you away from it. So I don't need to teach you how to pay attention to high stimuli. What I need to teach is what's more challenging, and that's how to pay attention to low stimuli, much like the classroom teacher who cannot possibly compete. That's why everything is presented very simply, so that now you can learn how to pay attention to that low stimuli at will. Okay. Then all of your data is stored for you. So this is really important for not only our adult clients and our families here, but also your professionals who are going to be documenting progress with lots of different clients. So you see here, I worked for 1 minute and 32 seconds. Of that time, I was actually paying attention 29% of the time. And the recovery speed from the time I lost my attention to the time I regained it was right around 16 seconds. So there are a lot of areas I need to improve. But Sheer Genius, the AI, is going to take this data and not only document progress, but then start setting mini goals. So that's the deliberate practice model we talked about, right? So the next time I log in, Sheer Genius will say, yesterday you completed this with 29% attention. Today, let's try 31%. And if you do that, you earn a point, and the point goes into your reward system. So you're always going to have the AI that is documenting progress, setting that those mini goals, also tracking your rewards program. And we're going to teach you how to do an effective reward system. And then also, if you look at skill advancement, there's a bronze, silver, and gold medal in each of the cognitive skill areas. So there's certain benchmarks you're going to have to reach before moving up to intermediate and then to advanced. And again, the AI is going to track that and graduate you when appropriate. And when we move you up, we're going to tie in more processes required for executive function, including processing speed. So if you've gotten those neuropsych evals back and it says that you're a slow processor, we're going to address processing speed, impulse control, distractions, and mental flexibility or transitions, right? We're not going to encourage that hyper focus. We're going to teach you how to transition. So there are times in the intermediate and advanced skill options where you're going to have to respond to certain stimuli using the mouse or the keyboard, but you're still driving everything with your attention. Okay. So again, those are the different cognitive skills, and I'm going to go through the different cognitive skills that we can address within your program. But this is kind of the process that you're going to go through, okay? And when you log in, keep in mind that Sheer Genius does a lot of the decision making for you. So you're going to have a similar login And when you log into your session, and we do recommend that everyone works at least an hour per week. Now, if you're a professional, you might be doing two 30-minute sessions. A lot of our adult clients doing this at home may do four 15-minute sessions. You could even do six 10-minute session, whatever works best for you. And then when you log in, let's say you decide to do a 15-minute session. That means you log in. Sheer Genius is going to say, okay, today, Evelyn, we're going to work on attention stamina, time on task, and working memory. Not only that, but Sheer Genius is going to set a mini goal for each of those exercises. So you log in, you do your three exercises, you have three mini goals, you log out, you have a journal, time for reflection, you're done for the day. The next day, you log in, you do your three exercises, you log out, you have your journal, time for reflection, you're done. That's the process you're going to go through. And that AI is going to be there to help you throughout. But not only that, you're also going to have a personal focus coach assigned to you as well. That's one of our coaches here on staff to assist you every step of the way. So that person is going to help you set up your profile, take you through an onboarding to make certain you're real comfortable with everything before you get started. So you not only have coach built into your play attention system, but you also have that focus coach who you can think about as your accountability buddy to keep you on track all the way through your progress. Now, Evelyn says, how does the equipment on the wrist monitor brain activity? So that's a really good question. When you think about what attention is, right now you have billions of neurons firing in your brain at different times. But when all of those neurons fire in synchrony, when they all fire at one time, you give off a very specific electromagnetic signal. And that signal is what we know of as attention. That's what that body wave armband is listening for. It's listening for that moment when you give off that very specific electromagnetic signal. Now, you may be very used to seeing something on the head, like sticky pads or ear clips or a headband. And the reason everyone does that is because that signal you emit is so small, it's so minute that it's easiest to monitor if you're close to the source, which is the head. The challenge with that is no one wants to wear something on the head. It's uncomfortable, it's invasive. Many of our clients have difficulties with sensory issues. And so something on the head is not ideal. So we've had to advance that technology to a point where we can now monitor that same exact brain signal, but we do it through the body. Because just because you move further from that source, that signal doesn't disappear. It just gets harder to tune into. So we have to amplify that signal, and then we have to filter out all the noise that occurs from the head to wherever you've placed it on the arm. But that's how we've been able to give you that same experience in a much more comfortable manner. Okay. All right. So now, as I mentioned, there are several different cognitive skills that we can incorporate into your plans. And all of the cognitive exercises are brain enabled and will be customized to your strengths and weaknesses, with the end goal being to improve the foundation in order to strengthen executive function. So if you glanced at my main menu screen earlier, you may not have seen these areas of executive function, right? So how are we doing that? Because there are very specific skills you need to improve in order to strengthen any of these areas. Remember, executive function is a set of mental processes that help you get everything done. So, executive function is like the CEO of your brain. It's what allows you to control your attention, your behaviors, your emotions. It allows you to plan and prioritize, organize, avoid procrastination, and remain on task. And no one is born with strong executive function, but we all have the potential to develop it. And that development starts right after birth and continues through our mid to late 20s. Unfortunately, we expect everyone to have strong executive function by the time they hit middle school. So, right around the age of 11, we expect everyone to be independent and organized and have their emotions in check. And that development doesn't always naturally happen. There are a lot of factors that can inhibit it. one of which is ADHD. It can be autism. It can be a traumatic brain injury. It can be anxiety. Usually, with our clients, it's a combination of things. So it's important to keep in mind what we know through neuroplasticity is the brain is moldable, it's shapeable. And if we provide you with the right challenge and the right feedback, you can develop these skills despite your current wiring. We know age is not a factor. We also know that labels like ADHD are not a factor. If we provide you the right challenge, you can create these new neural pathways. Now, why do we do this individual skill building? So, if you look at any of these processes within executive function, let's take emotion regulation as an example, because many times that is the number one concern when I talk to adults or professionals or parents. Emotion regulation is a challenge. And you may have developed some strategies, you may know strategies, you may be teaching your child some strategies to deal with emotions, and they can talk to you about it. They know the strategy they should use, or you may know the strategy you should use. But in the heat of the moment, for some reason, you're not able to use the strategies you know. And so that means in order to improve emotion regulation, first we have to be able to pay attention to the entire situation. We also have to be able to process all of the information. We have to control our impulsivity so that we're not just impulsively responding with that first emotion that comes to mind. We have to have strong memory so that we can evaluate, draw on prior experiences to evaluate the best response. We also have to have the ability to stay in the present moment and calm that internal dialogue. So, have you ever really thought that all those skills required for emotion regulation, attention, processing speed, impulse control, mindfulness, working memory, we have to strengthen the foundation. So, every time you do a play attention session, you're not only developing cognitive control in all of these skill areas, but you're strengthening all of the processes within executive function. So now everyone's program comes standard with our first six core cognitive exercises. So you'll have attention stamina, that's the ability to direct and sustain your attention at will to low stimuli. Visual tracking, that's a great one if the teacher's ever said to you, no, he does great when I stand right next to him, but as soon as I walk away, he's out the window and out the door, and then he has that diffused attention where he's paying attention to a little bit of everything. Task completion, this is huge. For our adult clients, it's I start a million things, I finish nothing, or I'm just so tired at the end of the day. I've been busy, but I didn't finish anything. Or for homework that should take 15 minutes but takes 2 hours. Short-term memory is the ability to remember dates, names, facts, filtering distractions, both auditory and visual. And then we also have academic bridge, which is working on that transfer and generalization. So you see here, my student is not looking at the computer screen. She's working on her report. And this could be a work assignment if you're an adult. It could be homework if you're a child. And you notice that she's working on her assignment. Now she has that body wave armband on. So as long as she's paying attention to her work, she's going to hear from the computer, good, great. If she starts to drift, she'll hear focus, and then she knows she's not in that state she needs to be in. So this is where we're teaching how to apply the skills they're learning back into the classroom, the home, the workplace, how to self-regulate while doing actual work tasks. Now, there are a variety of exercises that we can also incorporate, and these are considered our master class modules. You can incorporate these at any time. Working memory, that's the ability to take in information, hold that information in order to complete a task. So it helps with reasoning, evaluating, comprehension. If you notice that you keep reading a paragraph over and over and over again before you can actually summarize what you said, what you read, that's working memory. Auditory processing, that's the ability to follow through with multiple step verbal instructions. Hand-eye coordination is more about small motor control, so fine motor control. Social skills, if you have any challenges picking up on social cues, processing that information and responding. Spatial memory is remembering where things are located. So if you're constantly losing your keys or your wallet or your phone, that's a good one. We have mental math for first grade and second grade addition and subtraction math facts. Mindfulness, teaching you how to stay in the present moment. This is one of my favorite, and we're going to talk about this a lot in the upcoming month because we're going to have a mindfulness challenge for all of you, where we're working on staying in the present moment for the new year. This mindfulness application is so important because we hear how helpful, how beneficial mindfulness is to for the symptoms of ADHD or anxiety, which is true. However, we can't look at someone with ADHD and say, now I want you to practice mindfulness, because mindfulness is hard. It's hard for all of us, but especially if you have that running mind. So, what we do is we give you a visual representation of what it means to be in the present moment. So, you'll see a lotus flower in the middle of the screen. Once you have your mind in the present moment, you're able to start opening the petal on the flower. If you start thinking, when's my next appointment? Who do I have to call? What do I have to get at the store? That petal starts to close because you're no longer present. You have to bring yourself back in order to continue. So we're giving you that visual feedback to enhance your mindfulness practice. And then motor skills. That's if you have more bumps, bruises, accidents than your peers. It helps with that mind-body coordination. So again, all of these cognitive skills are what are required for every single process within executive function. And we're going to customize your plan so that you can develop that cognitive control. Now, if you're wondering which cognitive skills are best for you, we do have an online assessment. And if you go through that, you can take it for yourself or you can fill it out for your client or your child. And if you fill that out on our website, it'll generate a report basically that pinpoints all of the different cognitive skills that I just reviewed, which will give you a good overview of what we would recommend for your program. So if you want me to send you a link for that assessment, just type in test and we will send you a link for that ADHD test so you can get a better idea of what your customized plan would look like. We also, if you want to go a little bit further, have a couple of assessments available if you want to go deeper. We have Focus, which is a norm reference test of attentional control. It takes about 20 minutes, and at the end of the 20 minutes, we receive a full report that tells us how you performed compared to the performance of your peers. And we look at four different constructs of attentional control. We look at consistency, performance, impulse control, and your ability to deal with distractors, both auditory and visual. So that's an additional option for you is that focus assessment. If you want to go further, we also have the brief assessment available, which is more subjective because that's based on experience or observation, and that's a behavior rating inventory of executive function. So lots of different options, but I see many of you would at least like to start with that online test to just see what your customized plan would look like, or your child's or your partner's. And so we'll make certain that we get that link to you. All right, so let's talk about the program and what it includes. So it includes everything you need to run your program. So you'll have, of course, your body wave technology because we have to monitor that brain state, right, in order to have brain-enabled activity. So we have that body wave armband. You'll have your customized neurocognitive training program. So that's the software you'll simply download and everything will be there for your plan. We have a full behavior shaping component, which I didn't even bring up, but if you have a child or a client who has a lot of self-distracting behaviors like skin picking or nail biting, chewing on their shirt, we work on those behaviors because the powerful part of neurotechnology is that you get a one-to-one correlation on how certain behaviors affect your attention. And then we're going to use that to help you start to learn how to control it. Okay. Now, also, you'll have that personal focus coach. That's one of our coaches here. And like I said, that person is going to set up your profile, take you through an onboarding, which is a practice session, and then think about that person now as your accountability buddy. So that person's going to say, what is going to help you stay on track? Is it a phone call once a week? Is it a text message 3 days a week? Do you want to meet via Zoom for 15 minutes once a week for the first couple of months until you develop the habit? That focus coach is unlimited. So you use that person to make certain that we help you be successful. And then, of course, you have a lifetime membership. You own the program. So you will have your program. There's no monthly reoccurring fees. It's all part of the package. So let's reiterate the time frame that we recommend. We talked about this a little bit earlier. So again, you want to work at least an hour per week, and that hour can be broken up, two 30-minute sessions, four 15-minute sessions, whatever works best for you. And you'll start to see good results after about 6 weeks of consistent training. You'll notice that you are more engaged, you're more productive, you're not so tired at the end of the day. You'll notice that you gave your child three instructions and he followed through without being redirected or reminded. So you're going to start noticing these small steps of improvement. But the research shows in order to gain permanency, in order for us to know that not only will you have these skills now, but you'll have them throughout your lifetime, we have to work to that point of permanency, which typically takes about 40 hours total. So if you are working that hour per week, I would plan on about 10 months of consistent training. So if you are, let's say you get to that 40-hour mark, everyone learns differently. So if we get at 40 hours, you're going to meet with your focus coach. We're going to look at all the skills, make certain you're at all the advanced skill options. If everything is good there, we're going to look and make certain everything's transferred and generalized back into the classroom, the workplace, home. If everything looks good, we'll start graduating from the program. If it looks like there's more work to be done, we simply customize the plan and we keep going. Again, that goes back to that membership, right? It's a lifetime. You own the program. So whether it takes you 10 months or 16 months, it doesn't matter. We continue working as long as necessary. And even once you graduate the program, if you want to continue using the program for peak performance training, you can do that. I have colleagues here who will use it in the beginning of a day. If they have a, big presentation that day, I have one colleague who uses it every day before he goes out on the tennis court. So you can always use it in that capacity. Okay. You'll just never have to go through that strict 40 hours again. There are a couple of interesting questions here I want to make certain that I address. One, which came in a little bit earlier, is I'm interested in learning how I can help my son, who I believe has ADHD, but the teachers don't agree because he's getting good grades. His intelligence, plus with my assistance with memory, organization, and time management, he's doing well. I am certain that everyone here can relate to that statement, right? That the grades are good, right? A lot of our clients are average intelligence to well above average. So it's not that they're not intelligent, but it's all of these cognitive skills that are challenging. It's the executive function that is challenging. So you may be helping your child with organizing, you may be serving as your child's self-regulation. And now it's time to give them a program so that they can develop the skills that they need and be independent. Okay. And yes, when we customize your plan, you're going to have all of those different cognitive skills in your plan. That means anyone within your program will have access to those different cognitive skills, but everyone may have a different selection. You may have access to social skills, but you might not need that one, but your child does. So in your profile, we're going to set that up. And that's what your focus coach is there for, to help you with that. And then remember, not only your focus coach is helping you, but Sheer Genius, our artificial intelligence, is keeping track of your data, setting your curriculum each day, keeping track of your reward system, and monitoring your progress. So at any time, you can go in and you can look at all of your data over time. It's going to generate reports for you. So you'll always have your data there, and your focus coach is available to review that data with you as well. So again, remember to get those outcomes, because many of you included these in your goals, your outcomes, your goals to improve behavior, to improve your attention, to improve productivity, to be less anxious, right? Your goals are within reach, but it will take time and consistency. So again, set up your curriculum, You're going to be going through about an hour per week. Break that up, 15-minute blocks of time, 30 minutes, whatever works best for you. You start seeing good results after about 6 weeks, and then permanency around that 40-hour mark. Now, you do have two options. There's the home system, and then there's the professional system. The only difference between the home and the professional system is in the user license. So the home system comes with a user license for two people. That means at any one time you can have two family members enrolled. You can always upgrade that. An additional user license is just $50. And then you have your professional system, which comes with an unlimited user license. So if you have 25 clients you want to enroll tomorrow, you can enroll all 25 of them and continue to add new clients as they come in. Blair says, do you need separate membership for different family members, family membership? So again, Blair, that goes with this question. With the home program, you will have that user license for two people. If you need to have more family members enrolled, no problem. You'll each have your own individual login, and you'll be, of course, sharing that one Body Wave armband, but you'll have your individual profile set up. Okay? Thanks so much, everyone. I hope you have a great afternoon, and we look forward to working with you soon.